In one of the most embarrassing losses of my lifetime, the Florida Gators, number 13th ranked formerly, have been upset by the South Florida Bulls.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. I am Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI. And wow, that was one of the worst games I've ever experienced. One of the most embarrassing losses I've ever experienced. And for all the people talking about, fire Billy Napier, we'll talk about that, I'm sure. You can absolutely say that this is a fireable offense. Year 4, by the way. So you could absolutely say that it's a fireable offense. But wow, I mean, let's that's more big picture, right? That's more of a big picture thing. Just the here and now. That was just an awful performance overall. Just an awful performance overall with DJ Lagway completing 23 of 33 passes. So the completion percentage looked fine, right? But it was just a bad game overall. I think that even when you could talk about 23 for 33, but when you take into context the entire performance by DJ Lagway, it was just awful, right? He had multiple plays where he tried to take off running despite having a receiver available downfield. Multiple plays where he just lost his mechanics completely, which was a thing last year. We spoke about that a lot last year, and how more reps and more experience will help him develop there and improve there, but it hasn't happened yet, right? And look, he needs the reps. Like, I think a lot of us agree that he will be a good quarterback, but you need the reps if you're going to last. And man, that was brutal. That was a really brutal game by him. It was very, very awful. Just the missed throws again. The decisions were poor. The inability to do anything offensively, and the commentators touched on this too. Nico Gramatica missed a field goal with about 2 minutes, 45 seconds left. Nico Gramatica missed that field goal, and Florida got the ball back right after that. So Florida gets the ball back with 2 minutes, 50 seconds left in the game. Then they open the drive with an incompletion that, I mean, the commentators were talking about it, saying that it looked like DJ Lagway checked out of a run because he saw how many bodies were in the box. And so checked out of the run, threw the ball for the out, threw it a bit too far out, and led to an incompletion. Then you have to burn a timeout. And then you run the ball for 2 yards. And then you have Vernell Brown III open. It's a good ball. It hits Vernell Brown III in the hands, but goes right through his hands. And then you punt. And I see you talking in the chat. There's a 1,000 of you talking in the chat. This is probably going to be one of the biggest, one of the most watched episodes of Locked On Gators we've ever had. So thanks. So we'll say that. But then you give them the ball back with 2 minutes and 22 seconds left. You burn like 25 seconds off the clock with the lead, with a 1-point lead. You burn 25 seconds off the clock, go 3 and out, punt, hell of a punt. You get them down at the 11. So they got to go 89 yards if they want to score for a touchdown, or they've got to still go, 50, 60 to get into field goal range for Martin Gramatica, or for Nico Gramatica. And then you have second down, 2nd and 10. Dijon Johnson gets a defensive pass interference penalty. Moves the ball up for USF. Then you have Brendan Bett do one of the dumbest things we've ever seen a Florida Gator do on the field with spitting on a USF player. Just awful. Spitting on a USF player there. On that final drive, you gave them 30 yards with defensive penalties. Then a screen pass goes almost 30 yards. And that's awful as well, of course. And then, I mean, even worse maybe is USF has the ball on the far left hash. And they're pretty clearly just going to run the ball, try to center it, and kick the field goal to win the game. And he kind of, like, Byron Brown kind of just walks into the center. Kind of just walks into the center, then gets tackled. And so it's a perfect kick just right up the middle for Nico Grammatica to take. And it's easy money there. I mean, it was just awful management, awful execution, just awful overall. And look, I'm not going to do the thing that's like, oh, well, you know, you had success running the football on the first drive. Why'd you stop? Because I think that that's also fairly flawed, right? Because that great first drive that you had, Jaden Ball had what, 51 yards on the first drive? Finished with 18 carries, so he still got the ball for 93 yards. It's not like it was as simple as, oh, if you just keep running the ball, you're just going to keep winning. There were plenty of mistakes. There were plenty of poor decisions. It was one of the worst games I've ever seen. Look, I still think this is a talented roster, okay? I don't think this was a talent issue. I think this was a discipline issue. That's been one of my big complaints. That a discipline issue with, take the Gator shades off, everyone assumed Florida would win this game. No one, I don't think anybody disputed that. But yeah, I don't think this is a talent issue. I think this was a discipline issue more than anything else. 11 penalties for 103 yards is ridiculous. It was just awful. This has been one of the complaints with Billy Napier too, has been, hey, he doesn't get these guys ready to show up every single week. He doesn't get them to show up week in, week out. He doesn't get them to actually be there and be available. And I mean, look, I know that there's going to be 1,000 people complaining about the play calling. I know there's going to be 1,000 people complaining about different things. This was a game where you are simply more talented than USF. But you were outcoached. And what's been the whole coaching talking point that I've had this whole offseason has been, this is a talented roster. But coaching at some point here needs to catch up to the talent. And coaching hasn't caught up to the talent. Coaching probably won't catch up to the talent at this point, because if you're going to coach like that, you're not going to last year. Again, I'm not even talking big picture of like fire him right now. We'll get to that, right? I've openly said if you underperform in 2025, because I know I called for Billy's job in 2024. I've openly said if you underperform in 2025, I'm going to call for your job again. And again, we will have that conversation when we talk more big picture. But just talking about this game alone, this is bad coaching. That's it. It's bad coaching. There's no other way to put it. I mean, it's just awful. This was a defense or an offense where you should have been able to absolutely dominate, which you did a lot of. And penalties, extended drives. The offense being incapable of just sustaining drives yet again. That was the thing that we talked about last year, that they aren't good at sustaining drives, that they need to be able to do that. And one of the things we talked about was DJ Lagway using his legs, but he used his legs when he had open receivers, and he used his legs to pick up a yard or two. Like, you got to just be better than that, right? Yeah, I know Billy Napier sucked tonight, was absolutely awful. DJ Lagway played horrendous football. DJ Lagway played Anthony Richardson versus Kentucky 2022 level football. Like, DJ Lagway played awful tonight. Billy Napier coached awful tonight. Offensive line didn't do an awesome job either. I think defense did some things really well, but I also think that they had quite a few opportunities to make more plays. Devin Moore had a chance to make a pick, hit him in the hand, or had a chance to catch a pick, hit him in the hands. He dropped it. Miles Graham had Byron Brown wrapped up in the backfield, let go of him. A lot of plays were, or a lot of times you were in position to make plays, but you just didn't. I know that everyone's going to talk only about Billy Napier here, but you need to talk about Billy Napier. You need to talk about the execution tonight, the discipline or lack thereof. I mean, it was just an awful performance. I've never seen a team simply not show up the way that they could. Like, again, I don't care what anyone says. This is still a talented team. I don't care if you want to talk about talent composite rankings, where they're ranked 12th, which is a college football playoff team. I don't care if you want to talk about just your eye test. This is a game that Florida should have won. This is facing an offense that you stylistically face every year in Tennessee. You should have been there ready to beat their ass. And you didn't at all. Like, there is no other way to put it other than, hey, I almost said a word I can't say. You crapped the bed entirely. That's it. Thanks, CMB100. You crapped the bed entirely. It was an awful performance, awful coaching, awful execution of a lot of things. And here's the thing. I don't know why someone just said that about that player as if he was the one that that screwed things up. That was just a ridiculous thing to say. Juan Manuel said, Hurricanes fan, respect your points of view. Awesome running backs, 2 dynamic, explosive receivers. Why not put the ball in the hands of those 4 playmakers? Because Billy Napier is not a good in-game coach at all. Like he's just awful. He's starting his press conference now. It's probably going to go poorly, right? I would imagine that's not going to be too great for him. I will watch it after. But Brendan Bett, I mean, I don't get it. I don't get what could have possibly happened in that moment that would make you spit on someone. Like, I don't know what the hell it is that you can't be disciplined enough to go, hey, I don't care what they're saying to me. This is the potential game-winning drive. We should probably lock in. We'll deal with whatever we got to deal with after that. But instead, you let your head get hot. And I don't want to hear, like, I know Jamari Lyons had a spit in 2023 that, you know, they were like, hey, he was just talking and spit, and it looked like he spit, and so he got ejected for that. This isn't that. This was pure Jalen Carter standing right in front of the dude and just spitting at him. It was embarrassing performance for the Florida Gators. At least I know that I probably won't cover a worse loss than this one, at least for a while. Right. That was just embarrassing. There's no other way to put it. We are going to talk more about the chat and more about this horrendous, terrible, no good, very bad loss when we get back with this live episode of Locked On Gators. You can just move through life, or you can find the things that move you. It's your choice. You can choose to get out there, choose your people. You can choose to go for it, like really go for it, like Billy Napier should have on 4th and 3. Just choose to do something that moves you. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. So it's Mazda, move and be moved. And it is the weekend, so you can look back at this weekend's MVP. I'll tell you who it's not. It's not Billy Napier. It's not DJ Lagway. Neither of them. It's not Rocco Underwood. Neither of them. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks, saving more every time you order. And I can't believe how many players didn't deliver. Not DoorDash caliber players. I'll say that, right? Locked On Gators had multiple players and coaches that were not DoorDash caliber players. With DoorDash streaks, you save every Saturday that you order. So you could stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free, both in the podcast and on YouTube. And man, the Florida Gators lost to South Florida. And again, like there's so many different things you could point out in this game as what led to it, right? You can talk about how DJ Lagway again just couldn't complete any passes that mattered. I can't wait for the actual numbers of what his number of what percentage of his passes were behind the line of scrimmage, or short and close to the line of scrimmage, because I mean that was just nothing short of absolutely horrendous, right? You can talk about how Florida on special teams gave South Florida 2 points with a safety. The snap that went past Tommy Doman went through the back of the end zone, and so gave them 2 points there. You can talk about how they had, I don't know another way to explain it other than stupid penalties. I don't even want to say boneheaded, stupid penalties. You could talk about a million things where this team did those wrong on Saturday night. And look, it's any given Saturday. I'm not going to do the right now. I'm not going to do the fire anybody thing. I'm not. I'll give you more than one loss, right? And I'm also not about to do the thing that said, oh, like, well, Nick Saban lost to, I don't care. Not going to do any of that. This was just an awful performance by Billy Napier. Said there's no excuse here. I'm not up here to make excuses. There are no excuses. That's right. I don't care what you do want to say. There's no excuses there. You lost to South Florida. That's it. Like that's it. You lost to South Florida. There's no excuse. There's no logic. There's nothing you can say to excuse it or even reason it, right? And like, I hate knowing that on Wednesday's episode, we're going to have Hayden Hansen here, and he's going to have to talk about this because I was really looking forward to talk about a win, but we're not going to be able to do that. And so Florida loses to South Florida. I don't think that this means all of a sudden Florida's going 3-9. I don't think that's true at all. I do think this was just an awful, awful performance. I think that Florida and Billy Napier made some poor decisions, like the 4th and 3. I thought you should have gone for it instead of kicking. You were 4th and 3 at the time. Your offense was not humming, but moving the ball, right? You were averaging like 5.8 yards per carry. You were averaging like 6.6 yards per play. Thanks, Quinn. You were the more talented team. Again, I know you lost the game, but you were the more talented team. 4th and 3, and you chose to kick it. And it's like, I never want to hear scared money don't make money. I never want to hear spot the ball. Never want to hear any of that, because this was just, again, one of the worst coaching performances that you're ever going to see for the Florida Gators. All right? I don't care. Billy is speaking now and claiming he deserves the heat. Yeah, I mean, no duh. And Kane thing, I'm not saying that USF didn't play well. I'm not saying that USF didn't deserve anything. I am saying that Florida was a more talented team, right? And Florida lost. Simple as that. You played an offense where I feel like you generally know what USF's going to do. And you couldn't stop them. Like you didn't make enough adjustments there. You didn't execute enough. There's no other way to put it other than coaching failed players. Players failed themselves. Like, it was just one of the worst performances that you're going to see. I don't know how else you could explain it. People talking about bring in Tramel Jones. People talking about, I know I was in a group chat talking about the 1st and 5. Right, the 1st and 5. Florida throws the football, incomplete, and they're like, oh, we should have just ran the ball. No, on 1st and 5, you should throw the ball because you trust your team to be able to run the ball twice and pick up 5 yards total in that situation, which, if I'm not mistaken, they did. But so 1st and 5, you should be throwing the football there. That's a time to throw the football. Simple as that. It's year 4, right? It's year 4, and you still can't get guys to actually show up and play their asses off week in, week out. Yeah, T. Strafasi, we spoke about that earlier. Yeah, those final 2 minutes, 40 seconds were awful. There's no other way to explain it. You burned a timeout when you shouldn't have burned a timeout, and then you put yourself in a crappy situation that led to USF getting to kick a game-winning field goal against you, which, by the way, never should have been a position that you were in. I mean, it was just, again, one of the worst performances I've seen. I think that USF outcoached Florida, which, considering how much money you get paid, you shouldn't be outcoached by almost anybody, but it happened. Just awful decision, awful coaching. I'm not going to fault the play calling as much as I think a lot of other people are. I'm going to fault the coaching for other things. That's like I'm going to fault the coaching for the reason that I wanted Billy Napier to give up play calling in the first place, was that because I don't think that you can be a good I don't think Billy can be a good play caller and head coach. I don't think many people can be. I think it's very difficult to be a good play calling head coach right now on either side of the ball. It's really tough. You got to, because you have so many things you have to do as a head coach. It's tough to be able to do those at a high level consistently. Billy can't. Billy's proven he can't time and time again. And he continues to prove it time and time again. I mean, I don't know how else to explain that he's one of the worst clock managing head coaches. Just makes awful, awful decisions in multiple instances. And doesn't get his guys ready to show up week in, week out. Doesn't have guys playing disciplined football. Like, at some point, you've got to honestly, you've got to just pull your head out of your ass and say, I can't be a head coach that calls plays. I either got to go be an OC somewhere, or I've got to do the right thing to do and give up play calling duties to someone, right? It was just awful coaching. I mean, nothing else to say other than Billy Napier should be absolutely ashamed of himself for this performance. I mean, I know he's going to go out there and put his coach speak, but it was awful. It was awful coaching, just terrible. No other way to put it. I have no other words to say it there. Like the fact that you kicked field goals on your first 3 drives and then you didn't score again until the fourth quarter. Terrible. And like defense showed up for a lot of the game. But like we've talked about so many times, if your offense can't sustain any drives, if USF is going up tempo the whole time, your defense is going to get tired. It's terrible. Conform your mother. How about that? So it's awful. It's terrible. Like you can't sustain drives because of play calling or execution or whatever the hell you want to call. I don't know what it was where there were like 2 drives where Billy decided to empty the clip play calling wise and go wildcat and all these weird trick play things. I don't know what it was, but this guy needs to figure something out. Like he's got to figure something out where he can actually get these guys to show up week in, week out for him. I know that we hear it all the time, right? Like they would die for him on that field. We hear it all the time. They're fully bought in. They want him to keep his job. They want him to do this. He can't get them to show up and play week in, week out. Got to figure that one out. And look, I know that we can talk about this team faced a lot of adversity last year and turned it around, and then sure, maybe, right? But if the issue last year for a lot of it was coaching failed you, and the issue this year so far is coaching failed you, like I said, I thought the Long Island game, yeah, you won 55-0, and yeah, you covered the spread, good job. But there were a lot of messy issues in that game with your starters, which matters more than how your backups performed against Long Island. And by the way, there were a lot of people mad about that one. Like, this was just Billy Napier's failing right now. If the issue last year was that coaching failed you, and the issue this year so far is that coaching's failing you, maybe that's a bigger testament of just who you are as a coach than anything else. And look, like I know DJ Lagway played awful. I know that there were plenty of guys that had awful nights. The offensive line, and every offensive lineman, if I'm not mistaken, had a penalty at some point. Every starting offensive lineman had a penalty at some point. Like I don't even know. There were maybe 2 penalties I disagreed with, but even then, 9 penalties that are called for, awful. Awful. I mean, you can't play undisciplined football with poor clock management and expect to win games. Poor timeout management, poor decision making. Like it was terrible. And again, I know that DJ Lagway completed a high percentage of his passes. Buddy, you got to play better than that. It's honestly as simple as like a lot of it came down to how Billy Napier coached, and a lot of it came down to how DJ Lagway played. When you're winning games, your head coach and your quarterback are going to get the most praise. When you're losing games and getting upset by teams that you should have beaten handedly, like defense did their job, right? For the most part, even with the awful penalties on the last drive and that screenplay. For most of the game, defense did their job. You held a high-octane offense to 18 points when your offense itself wasn't doing anything. When you're winning games, praise going to go to head coach and quarterback. When you're losing games, blame going to go to head coach and quarterback. By the way, go to swampsignal.substack.com because on Wednesday, we're going to be breaking down DJ Lagway's All 22. We're going to be breaking down that film, and we're going to be talking about how terrible he was in this game. Mechanics broke down. I can tell you that. We're going to talk about that a lot. I don't know how else to explain it other than this was, again, maybe the most disappointing performance that I've ever seen, or not ever, because, we got that one from about 13 years ago. But this is just horrendous performance. But you still got 10 games left, and we're still going to be here for every single one of them. The Florida Gators are 0-1 since I've gone to England. Hopefully, they will figure out a way to win some games this year. If not, it's going to be a long one. And either way, we're going to be talking about Billy Napier and whether or not he should still be the head coach here at the University of Florida, which I know that this made a lot of people say nope. But man, it's tough. It's tough. And the Florida Gators 1-1 to start the 2025 season. I want to say it can only go up from here, but that's not even true at this point. We got to say that last year when they started 0-1. We don't get to say that this year. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free, whether it's the podcast and on YouTube. As always, I'm Brandon Olsen. Find my written work with New York Giants on SI and swampsignal.substack.com, and I'll see you all next time.